tabled that tackled issues that were very important for Canada. I would like to interrupt the honourable member, who will have 8 minutes remaining after question period to complete his speech.
Go to statements by members. I'd like to ask honourable members in the House, but also and especially in the courtyard, to please keep quiet so we can hear what's being said in the House. It's very difficult right now, so I would ask, if possible, to quiet the noise in the courtyard. Thank you very much. Statements by members. Déclaration des députés. The honourable member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's an honour to rise virtually. This is May 12th. It's the birthday of Florence Nightingale, hence the focus on nurses this week and nursing. I just want to mention that Florence Nightingale in the 19th century was a leader. If she'd been a man, she'd be known as the father of public health science. She'd be known as one of the trailblazers in the use of statistics. But the misogynistic lens of history doesn't end there. Fast forward to 2022, and our nurses are struggling. Nurses, and this comes from the website of the Canadian Federation of Nurses Unions, nurses and healthcare workers are experiencing a silent mental health crisis. Short staffing, punishing workloads, and widespread violence, these are everyday realities. That's not good enough. I know all parliamentarians in this place would like to join me to say thank you to all the women and men in the nursing profession. Thank you. We stand with you. We owe you so very much.
The honourable member for Vimy.
Madame la Présidente.
Madam Speaker, we have such highly talented women in Vimy.
Inc. is a woman-led company who focuses on biosurfactants, which are biodegradable and eco-friendly products for cleaning and personal care.
Since my election in 2019, I have seen Dispersa grow and be recognized for the incredible work that they're doing to make our homes greener.
Dispersa was selected as one of the top 5 global chemical startups to watch in 2022. I want to personally congratulate Nevada Balendra and the Dispersa team for this amazing recognition and for showing young girls across the world that women scientists are leading society into a more sustainable and greener future. Congratulations, Nevada, and keep up the good work. You are making all of us, including our Tamil community, very proud.
Bravo.
The honourable member for Yorkton Melville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This House needs to take seriously the efforts of the Chinese Communist Party to undermine our democracy and, in particular, target and pressure Canadians of Chinese descent. Experts from McGill University and the Digital Forensic Research Lab have sounded the alarm over a disinformation campaign launched by the Chinese Embassy during the last federal election. Several members of Parliament were targeted, including the former member for Stevenston Richmond East. It sought to spread disinformation to the Chinese Canadian community and physically intimidate Canadians on our own soil. As members of Parliament, we have the duty to protect our elections from foreign influence. Canada must adopt a foreign influence transparency scheme similar to those in the US and Australia. A failure to do so will only allow foreign intimidation to continue. Canada must reject a culture of appeasement and stand up to the authoritarianism within and beyond our borders.
The honourable member for Yukon.
Speaker, today I rise to honour International Nurses Day and the thousands of nurses in this country who dedicate their lives to care for Canadians. Mr. Speaker, my own family has been blessed with 2 nurses. My mother was a young nurse in World War II London. I'm also deeply proud of my sister Fiona Hanley, who is a devoted environmentalist and nursing instructor at Dawson College in Montreal. At 50% of our healthcare workforce, nurses form the backbone of our healthcare system. But let's be frank, this is a workforce in crisis. 2 years of a pandemic have worsened the strain nurses were already experiencing. Long hours, staffing shortfalls, lack of supplies and resources, and stress. Today, 45% of nurses experience symptoms of burnout and half are thinking of leaving their job. Today is a day to celebrate nurses and honour their critical work, but we must deliver on providing the support nurses need in order to stay and to thrive in their jobs to support the health of Canadians. For today, thank you, Fiona. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Brooke. Thanks to all of the nurses of the Yukon and of Canada.
The honourable member for Beauport-Côte de Beaupré de l'Orléans, Charlevoix. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's a great year. It's the 40th anniversary of a flagship organization in my riding, Le Pivot. Today, I join my colleague from Beauport-Limoilou in paying tribute to and highlighting the huge contribution of Le Pivot to our beautiful Beauport region every day. And in all circumstances, dozens of volunteers put their hearts into helping people in their community. Whether it's for food distribution, the thrift shop, child care assistance, or the drop-in center, the preparation of tax returns, and many other forms of assistance. It is clear that the Pivot is the community lung of Beauport. I want to salute the hard work, affability, and empathy of its executive director, Ms. Jeanette Fauché. A true inspiration for the next generation. Jeanette has been with Pivot since its founding. Thank you, Jeanette, for these 40 years. Thank you also to the board of directors and especially to the volunteers who help and who love so much. Long live Pivot. Happiness needs you. The Honourable Member for Hochelaga. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week, I had the very great pleasure of attending the 34th edition of the Esteem Awards Gala of Eastern Montreal Chamber of Commerce. I want to highlight all the organizations in this riding. After 2 years of a pandemic, the gala was finally able to take place in person with over 500 entrepreneurs, organizations, and businesses. This seeks to recognize innovation, leadership, and the determination of the participants in Eastern Montreal. People in Eastern Montreal are proud, and they really have a strong feeling of belonging. I salute all this year's winners, especially those in my riding. Bravo to Dermatory Laboratories winner in manufacturing, Annie Martel, Terre à Soie, an ecological green store. Winner in the Women's Leadership category, and the Cuisine Collective Hochelaga Maisonneuve winner of the Orchid Award in the Organization category. This allows us to recognize the extraordinary talents of everybody who contributes to the development of this region. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Brandon Souris.
I rise to celebrate the life of Mr. Brian Franklin, who sadly left us all too soon after a brief battle with cancer. He was a pillar in his community of Deloraine and was known far and wide for his public service and his love of hockey. Brian was a teacher for 36 years and was one of the best math teachers in the province of Manitoba. He served as a town councillor and then the mayor of Deloraine for 16 years. He brought people together and was always willing to listen to those who needed help. My greatest memories of Brian were seeing him at the hockey rink or on the golf course. And I was thrilled when he became the president of Hockey Manitoba. I was incredibly proud of how he led the organization and helped shape the future of so many players. I consider him a friend, and I know all who knew him are grieving with his passing. My heart goes out to his wife, Val, and his children, Tony and Carrie, as they celebrate his life. May he rest in peace.
The Honourable Member for Mississauga East, Cooksville.
Mr. Speaker, today is Fibromyalgia Awareness Day. We join millions who are participating on this day by holding various events to raise awareness for fibromyalgia, an invisible and debilitating chronic condition. In my riding of Mississauga East, Cooksville, Ms. Susan Monaco has been a strong voice for those affected by fibromyalgia. After being diagnosed in 1989, Ms. Monaco suffered quite a bit, just like more than 1.5 million Canadians, mostly women, who suffer from the fibromyalgia syndrome. Today, Ms. Monaco leads a local support group for all those suffering from fibromyalgia. I hear that the most frustrating thing for those suffering is that on the outside they look just fine, though in reality, fibromyalgia can severely limit a person's ability to carry out ordinary daily activities. In honor of the 30th anniversary of the International Fibromyalgia Awareness Day, I'm pleased to share that the City of Mississauga Civic Centre clock tower will light up purple. I would like to give a big shout out to my constituent, Susan Monaco, and her Fibro Mississauga group for their tireless advocacy to bring awareness to fibromyalgia. Thank you. Merci.
The Honourable Member for York Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me share some names who are an important part of the fabric of this country. Leah Roback, social activist and feminist. Moshe Safdie, architect. Rosalie Bella, Supreme Court Justice. William Shatner, actor and now astronaut. Geddy Lee, Leonard Cohen, and yes, even Drake, all musicians and creatives. This month of May is Jewish Heritage Month across Canada. It's an opportunity to celebrate the diversity, creativity, and contributions of Jewish Canadians that have been woven into the fabric and history of Canadian life. Jewish Canadians have shown leadership in academia, law, medicine, music, sports, theater, literature, community service, and so much more. Jewish leaders have been our teachers, our neighbors, and our friends. They've advocated for and inspired us to pursue peace, equality, and inclusivity in the Canada we share today, and have done it often in the face of unspeakable discrimination and anti-Semitism. Yet through their dedication and allyship, they have shone the light on what is possible for better for everyone. That's why this month is about celebrating those who I've mentioned and many, many more. Mr. Speaker, I encourage all Canadians to take some time to learn and celebrate the heritage and accomplishments of Jewish Canadians from coast to coast to coast.
Nice. The Honourable Member for Brantford Brant.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today on International Nurses Day, I rise to pay tribute to nurses across Canada and the world who selflessly serve their communities, often at a great personal sacrifice. I would particularly like to honour one of my constituents who has tirelessly served her community throughout the entire pandemic, caring for COVID-19 patients at the Joseph Brant Hospital in Burlington, Ontario. A hero who came home with Google marks imprinted on her face, tired after 12 hours on her feet in full PPE, putting her own health at risk to care for hundreds of Canadians who needed it most. A hero who, despite the challenging conditions in understaffed hospital, woke up every day and went to work, her eyes smiling to her patients above her mask. A hero who, above all, is the most amazing mother to our two daughters. To my wife, Angela, who is on the Hill today, most of all, you're my hero. I love you.
These SO31s, these statements are awesome, and we also have to remind folks not to acknowledge the presence of somebody in the gallery. Oh, I know, I'm glad she's here, but there you go. The Honourable Member for Niagara Centre.
Mr. Speaker, May marks Lyme Disease Awareness Month. Families across Canada have their lives turned upside down because of Lyme, like the Peters family in my riding. This family has two daughters who have battled chronic Lyme disease over the past 8 years with debilitating neurological symptoms. Like many Canadians, the Peters family does not know when, where, or how they were bitten by a tick and acquired Lyme. The Peters sisters did not have a bullseye rash, nor did they have, similar to other many people who get Lyme, some of those different instances where they would know that they had Lyme. Mr. Speaker, I encourage all members of this House to educate themselves on the experiences of individuals with Lyme and to visit canlyme.com to find out more and get more information. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Coast of Bay, Central Notre Dame.
Mr. Speaker, 7,500 healthcare professionals were promised for rural Canada by the Liberals in the 2021 election campaign. Coast of Bay, Central Notre Dame, like much of rural Canada, is in a healthcare crisis. My constituent, 40-year-old Preston Party, who happens to be in Ottawa today, spent 5 days on a stretcher in an understaffed hospital after suffering a heart attack. Weeks later, he was transferred to Ottawa, where he finally received his triple bypass surgery. Constituents of mine, like Preston, don't want to hear the Minister of Health give them COVID stats from the USA, or talk about the wonderful relationship this NDP Liberal government has with the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. This government, this Prime Minister, has broken their promise to rural Canadians like Preston, and it's time for them to address this crisis and put the care back into health care.
And of course, as always, we recognize and are happy people are joining us here in the House of Commons today. The Honourable Member for Saskatoon Grasswood.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, it's been more than 2 years since COVID arrived in this country, and public health experts across Canada have been abundantly clear. We will live for years with COVID. Vaccination rates in this country are incredibly high, and the fourth dose of vaccinations are being rolled out. Transmissions, hospitalizations, deaths are all down significantly from the peak, and Canadians want to get their pre-COVID lives back again. Most of the provinces and territories across this country, including mine, in the province of Saskatchewan, have lifted all mandates. It is time for this government of Canada to join the provinces and remove mandates from all areas within the federal jurisdiction.
I just want to remind folks to keep the noise down just a little bit so that the SO31s can get done, so that people have a good clip to send home. The Honourable Member for Richmond Centre.
Mr. Speaker, the month of May marks the 20th anniversary of Asian Heritage Month. And this year, we celebrate the theme of continuing a legacy of greatness. I'm honored to represent Richmond Centre, a riding with predominant Asian population who have helped shape Canada as a great, diverse nation it is today. I want to thank the generation of Asians who have chosen to call Richmond their home and share their unique culture, religion, and history to all of us. Despite the unfortunate rise of anti-Asian sentiment during the pandemic, Asian Canadians have continued to show their strength through their resilience and activism. I hope we can all work together to build a more peaceful and multicultural community. This month, let us celebrate the legacy of greatness that Asian Canadians has contributed across Canada. Happy Asian Heritage Month.
The Honourable Member for Algoma, Manitoulin, Kathis Casing.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to pay tribute to the Community Futures Network of Canada and the excellent work it's doing to diversify, support, and strengthen the economy of rural and remote communities.
Community Futures Network of Canada works to support those communities by providing small business loans, tools, and training for people looking to start or expand their business. In Ontario alone, during 2020-2021, the Community Futures Development Corporations recruited over 1,000 volunteers, issued over $7.5 million in business loans, and created over 6,000 jobs. In addition, the CFDCs provided over $116 million in business loan relief and helped to maintain 8,500 jobs. In Algoma, Manitoulin, Kathis Casing, many entrepreneurs have taken advantage of the services provided by CFDCs, more specifically that of Wabatek, East Algoma, Superior East, Naldeski, Lambac, North Claybelt, and Sault Ste. Marie, whose team members are dedicated to make Northern Ontario a business-friendly destination. Today, I say thank you.
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Member for Shefford. Mr. Speaker, as the pandemic comes to an end, the annual pro-life demonstration returns to the federal parliament. Of course, opponents of women's rights to a safe abortion have the right to demonstrate. Parliament Hill is the most appropriate place to do so, certainly more appropriate than intimidating young women in front of healthcare clinics. The Bloc Québécois has no problem with the religious right gathering in the courtyard outside Parliament. Where we do have a problem is when religion finds itself inside the Parliament. In a Canadian Parliament where the official opposition finances itself on the front lawns of churches, in a Parliament where 40 Conservatives vote 100% of the time on the anti-choice right side, in a Parliament that has just voted to continue praying every day before work begins. In this Parliament, the Bloc wants to tell the women of Quebec that we will stand up for your rights, for our rights. We will not accept any backsliding. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Grand Prairie Mackenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Mr. Speaker. Canadians proudly oppose discrimination. But today, 7 million Canadians are being subjected to government-imposed discrimination that bars them from boarding an aircraft in Canada because they have not been fully vaccinated against COVID. This is uniquely Canadian. Currently, no other country in the world has a similar policy. In fact, most countries have lifted and ended their COVID restrictions. Canada's Chief Public Health Officer has been clear that it's time to end these discriminatory policies, but the Prime Minister has maintained this rule to foster hate, suspicion, and division. I remind my colleagues in this House that the Prime Minister can only maintain this discrimination if the majority of us allow him to do so. Consider the 7 million Canadians who continue to be separated from their families, job opportunities, studies, weddings, and funerals. I implore my colleagues in the Liberal and the NDP benches to do the right thing to end the Prime Minister's vindictive and divisive mandates.
The honourable member for Labrador.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am pleased to recognize Mining Week. Mining activity stretches right across our country, and it employs nearly 700,000 direct and indirect workers, of which nearly 17,000 are Indigenous. In 2020, the industry contributed $107 billion to Canada's GDP. Canada is a global mining power, thanks to world-class people, deposits, and environmental practices. The TMX lists more mining than any other stock exchange in the world. So in a net zero economy, this industry, they know they can reach even higher, and they are ready. That is why we made an historic commitment of $3.8 billion to implement the critical minerals strategy for infrastructure, to establish value chains, to unlock projects. We doubled the mineral exploration tax credit, and we're investing in R&D so that we can move closer towards sustainable mining in a way we know it can be done by Canada. I ask honourable members today to join me in recognizing National Mining Week and the importance of mining to Canadian prosperity.
Oral questions, question orale, honorable député de Mégantic.
The honourable member for Mégantic-l'Érable. Mr. Speaker, in January 2017, the Prime Minister created a big problem at Roxham Road with his tweet, #Welcome to Canada. What he did was create a gap in the Safe Third Country Agreement, encouraging thousands of illegal migrants to come to Canada. 5 years later, the situation is worse than ever before, and Quebec has been calling for Roxham Road to be closed down. The Prime Minister didn't hesitate to close the borders during the pandemic, but now he is hesitating. Why not suspend the Safe Third Country Agreement? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we believe in our asylum and immigration system. We work closely with our partners at the border, and we work with our American counterparts on questions related to our common border, including the Safe Third Country Agreement. We are always working closely with our partners to respect our national and international obligations when it comes to refugees. The honourable member. Yeah, but look at the results. The Prime Minister should stop turning a blind eye to gang violence in the streets of Montreal and elsewhere. Despite all the empty rhetoric, despite his election, since his election, the number of shootings has increased in Montreal. There have been 28 firearms-related incidents involving street gangs since the last update. Does the Prime Minister agree with the Chief of Police of Laval that the situation is unacceptable? The Right Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Thank you very much for that question. Mr. Speaker, as a member from one of the big cities in Canada, from Toronto, I fully agree that we have a huge problem with firearms. And that's precisely why our government has taken big steps to limit firearms in our country, in our communities, and in our cities. And I would invite the Conservatives to support the steps we've taken. The Honourable Member. Mr. Speaker, what the Prime Minister is trying to do is create a false sense of security among Canadians. It's not by turning the screws on honest and law-abiding merchants and firearms owners. That's not going to stop street violence in the major cities. People are fearful for their children. The gang members are afraid of nothing. They're opening fire in neighborhoods near children, and that's the fact, and it's only getting worse. What's it going to take for this government to combat the illegal arms trade, which is terrorizing people in Laval, Montreal, and all across Canada?
Premier Minister.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, once again, I'd really like to thank the member opposite for his question, because I agree. Firearms pose a serious threat in our cities, in Montreal, in Toronto, and in Vancouver. That's why our government is ready to take strong action to protect mothers and children, and I would encourage the Conservatives to support us.
Official opposition.
In Liberal-held ridings across the country, gun and gang violence is escalating, and it's not escalating because of law-abiding firearms owners. Last Saturday, around 3 in the morning, there was a deadly shooting on Shepherd Avenue in Scarborough. On Tuesday, police arrested the suspect, who had been arrested 48 hours earlier for an unrelated robbery. There have been 137 shootings in Toronto in 2022. Instead of wasting time going after law-abiding firearms owners, why isn't the minister protecting public safety by going after the gangsters shooting up his streets in Toronto?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I am an MP for a downtown Toronto riding. I am the mother of Toronto teenagers. I am very aware of the danger that guns pose in our cities, in our communities, on our streets. That is why our government is taking strong measures to ban military-style assault weapons, and I would invite the Conservatives to join us.
The Honourable House Leader for the Official Opposition.
Well, violent crime isn't just limited to the GTA. Monday night, there was a drive-by shooting not far from the Prime Minister's office in his riding of Papineau. That shooting came less than 2 days after another drive-by in Laval, a Liberal-held riding where a family was shot at while driving back from a birthday party. But instead of targeting criminals, the Liberals prefer to punish law-abiding hunters, collectors, and sports shooters. Can someone explain to me why this Prime Minister is more interested in protecting violent criminals and gangs in his community than the families in his community?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
You know, Mr. Speaker, farmers and hunters in rural communities do not use military-style assault weapons to hunt or to protect their cattle. These are weapons which terrorize our communities. They terrorize our big cities, but they terrorize all Canadians. That is why our government is acting to ban them, and I would welcome all members of this House. Surely we care about Canadian lives. Let's do the right thing together.
The Honourable Member for La Prairie. Mr. Speaker, the Trans-Canada Pipeline, it looks like they want to build it out of solid gold. They started out with $4.5 billion of public money. That's our money, taxpayers' money. And now we're up to $21 billion. $21 billion. Is this the government's genius plan to fight global warming, sell more oil? And the best part is that we learned today that the government has just given Trans Mountain another $10 billion. That's a total of $31 billion, Mr. Speaker. Where does it end? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, As we've been saying from the start, we do not intend to be the long-term owners of Trans Mountain. This project is a responsible investment in the public interest, and it has created over 12,700 well-paying jobs for the middle class. The Honourable Member for La Prairie. Mr. Speaker, they say it's a loan guarantee, but we're not fooled. It's nothing more than a subsidy in disguise. They're trying to hide the fact that they're financing their beautiful gold-plated pipeline with more and more of our money. They're embarrassed and they're being secretive about it, and I guess I get why. But either Trans Mountain, which the government owns, or the government itself will have to pay back the money. Either way, it's our taxes footing the bill. When will the government stop taking our money to finance Trans Mountain? At some point, there has to be a damn limit. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I hope everyone can understand how important it is to get a fair price for our resources on international markets. The government does not intend to be the long-term owner of the pipeline. The sale of this project will be announced when the project is further along and less risky, and will be done in consultation with Indigenous partners.
The Parliamentary Budget Office last year found that the Canadian government was giving massive tax exemptions to oil and gas companies to the tune of $2.3 billion. And then a year later, those very same companies are posting massive profits while gouging Canadians at the pumps. It's clear that this government continues to take the side of oil and gas companies, and it's hurting people. So will this government finally stop giving away these massive tax exemptions to profitable oil and gas companies and instead be on the side of people and help them out?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as a government, we are absolutely, clearly, and explicitly committed to eliminating fossil fuel subsidies. We're going to do that by 2023. We've also put forward a limit on emissions from the oil and gas industry, and we've committed to gradually reduce emissions until we reach net zero in 2050. And we're going to eliminate the flow-through share regime for fossil fuel sector activities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
Fossil fuel subsidies by increasing them by billions of dollars. I don't really get that. Le gouvernement libéral.
The Liberal government has given huge exemptions to oil companies, $2.3 billion worth, and those same companies posted massive profits this year, and they're continuing to gouge people at the pumps. So our question is, why do you keep helping big oil with their massive profits instead of putting an end to the huge exemptions and putting money back in people's pockets? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, as a government, it has been years that we've been committed to phasing out subsidies to the oil patch, and we will even do that before the target date. Order.
Lord.
Order.
Merci.
Thank you. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. We're even going to get there before the target date of 2023 because we know it's important. In addition, we have put forward a plan to put an absolute limit, a cap on GHG emissions, and to phase those emissions out until we achieve net zero. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, leave it to the Liberals to censor the bill C-11. In less than an hour, they were forced through a bill through this House that negatively impacts each and every Canadian who watches videos or listens to music on the internet. Making matters worse, the Prime Minister refuses to answer a simple question about how the CRTC will use their new powers to regulate the internet. Why is this government ramming through this bill while providing no transparency, What are they trying to hide?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our culture needs fair rules for tech giants, and that is exactly what our online streaming bill does. Our artists, our creators, all workers in the cultural sector depend on it. But the Conservatives are abandoning them yet again and again and again. They prefer to play politics. Canada needs a modern law. The cultural sector needs a modern law. It's time to move forward, Mr. Speaker, and I look forward to our debates at committee.
The Honourable Member for Perth Wellington.
Again and again and again, more disinformation from the Liberal government. This is a flawed bill. The Liberals are keeping the directives they are giving to the CRTC secret until after the bill receives royal assent, and now they are forcing the bill through the House of Commons. Why? Why is the government ramming this bill through rather than providing certainty to digital-first creators?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For some reason, the Conservatives have decided to abandon our culture and our artists. The objective is the same. We want platforms to contribute to Canadian culture. We heard the concerns that were raised about social media. We got the message, and we fixed it. We are making it extremely clear. Users and their content will not be regulated. The bill makes platforms contribute. That's it. It's in black and white in the bill. Platforms in, users out, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Hastings, Lennox and Addington.
Seniors across this country are calling into my office and pleading for parliamentarians to help alleviate the debilitating effect that the cost of living is having on them. Their dollar isn't going as far as it was before, and it keeps getting worse. Many seniors on fixed incomes can't make ends meet, and they've lost hope. Our seniors deserve better, and our seniors need better. Mr. Speaker, when will this government take realistic steps to lower the inflation that is devastating Canadian seniors?
The Honourable Minister of Seniors.
Conservatives who actually prolonged the age of retirement for seniors from 65 to 67, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we've been delivering for seniors. Whether it was the increase to the GIS that has actually helped over 900,000, Mr. Speaker, single seniors, or of course, Mr. Speaker, during this pandemic, we took action to provide seniors needed support with special tax-free payments and a GST top-up, Mr. Speaker. And of course, this summer, we're delivering on our promise to increase the OAS by 10% for those 75 and seniors. Mr. Speaker, seniors know that we've had their back and we're going to continue to deliver for them. Thank you.
The Honourable Member, Hastings, Lennox and Addington.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Hand in their back pocket, perhaps. For nearly 8 months, we have been asking this government to take substantive action to ease the crippling cost of living to our seniors. Dental care in 2 years will do nothing to lower food prices today. A one-off, one-time payment last year does nothing to lower the cost of medicine tomorrow. As a nation, we have relied on our seniors for their sacrifices, and now they are relying on us. Mr. Speaker, our seniors have been neglected. How can this Liberal government be comfortable with that?
The Honourable Minister of Seniors.
Side of the House, we have been delivering for seniors since 2015. Mr. Speaker, this actually allows me to talk a little bit about Budget 2022, which has made sure that seniors are supported. $5.3 billion over 5 years for dental care for a Canadian program, meaning seniors age 65 and up to income of below $90,000 will be able to access this. An additional $20 million for New Horizons for Seniors program. Mr. Speaker, we're doubling the qualifying expense for the home accessibility tax credit. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we're delivering for them, and we're going to continue to make sure seniors, we're going to have their back. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Kelowna Lake Country.
Well, Mr. Speaker, there's more misinformation. Mr. Speaker, I was speaking with a senior from Kelowna Lake Country who said her and her husband had to go back to work part-time just to pay for basic necessities. She said her electric bill is in one hand while looking at her empty pantry, and they had to make the decision whether to buy electricity or to go and purchase food. Inflation numbers do not capture all the costs increasing for people, and seniors on fixed incomes are some of the hardest hit. Can the minister tell us what specific actions the NDP Liberal government is explicitly taking to reduce inflation?
The Honourable Minister of Seniors.
Mr. Speaker, since the beginning, our government has been delivering for seniors. One of the first things that we've done, Mr. Speaker, is to restore the age of retirement back to 65 from 67, Mr. Speaker. We've enhanced the CPP, Mr. Speaker. We have raised the GIS for single seniors. That has helped over 900,000 seniors, Mr. Speaker. This summer, we are increasing the OAS by 10% for those 75. Mr. Speaker, we're making high-speed internet more affordable for seniors. And in Budget 2022, we announced the creation of dental care program for low-income seniors. Mr. Speaker, seniors know we are delivering for them, and we're going to continue to do just that.
The Honourable Member Kamloops Thompson Caribou.
The only thing they're delivering is less prosperity, Mr. Speaker. Now, when it comes to housing, Mr. Speaker, the housing minister likes to talk about what he's invested. What he doesn't like to talk about, though, are results. Why? Because there are none when housing prices have doubled over the last 7 years. If this housing minister had a radio show, Mr. Speaker, it should be entitled All Talk, No Rock. Will this housing minister admit that his strategy and his government's strategy has been an abject failure with all talk and no rock?
The Honourable Minister of Housing.
Speaker, we are dead set on making sure that we continue our investments in housing. Budget 2022 has prioritized affordable housing investments in addition to help for first-time home buyers, as well as doubling housing supply. We are making sure that through the National Housing Strategy, we work with developers, private sector, nonprofits, municipalities, and provinces to make sure that we get the help that Canadians need so that each and every Canadian has a safe and affordable place to call home.
L'honorable député de Jonquière.
The Honourable Member for Jonquière. Mr. Speaker, the price of gas is hurting Quebecers and Quebec businesses, especially in the regions. Meanwhile, oil companies have been raking in record profits in the last quarter, almost $3 billion for Suncor, $1.1 billion for Imperial Oil, and the same thing for TC Energy. But what's most infuriating is that despite these massive profits, the federal government is offering a $10 billion loan guarantee for Trans Mountain and $2.4 billion for the oil patch in the last budget. Does the Prime Minister agree that there's something embarrassing about subsidizing the oil patch instead of helping the people who are getting gouged? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, it's important to point out that inflation is a global phenomenon. The pandemic and Putin's illegal war in Ukraine are factors, but we understand that the cost of gas is a problem for Canadians, and that's why in our budget there is dental care. We've doubled the credit for a first home purchase and credits for renovations and a $500 for payment for people who are having trouble affording housing.
President.
The Honourable Member for Jonquière. Mr. Speaker, it's a double-dip festival for the producers of dirty oil. Ordinary people are paying twice. They pay crazy prices at the pump, and then they pay with their taxes for the subsidies the federal government gives to these same oil companies, which are raking in the cash. It's the middle class. Their wages are being transferred to the oil billionaires. Mr. Speaker, the oil patch doesn't need subsidies. Will the Prime Minister turn off the public money tap and instead support those hardest hit by rising fuel prices? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to say a bit about carbon capture. This doesn't just involve the oil patch or steel or concrete or aluminum. It's important for Quebec, for example. These are important industries to Quebec and to Canada's economy, and these are also the industries that have to reduce their emissions. Carbon capture will help those industries too, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Jonquière. Mr. Speaker, The price of fuel is even worse for agriculture, fishing, independent trucking, taxi driving, and many other industries. These people are at risk of going bankrupt. We have entire industries in Quebec that are suffering major losses without the slightest support from the federal government. Meanwhile, the oil patch in the West is reaping record profits and continues to be subsidized at every turn. Well, when will the government stop giving our money to the oil companies and instead fund the victims of fuel prices and the environmental transition? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, once again, I'd like to talk about the importance of carbon capture. We need carbon capturing because that will help meet our GHG reduction targets. This will create good jobs in the technology sector and support the energy transition. And it will also be beneficial to the industries of tomorrow, including concrete, steel, and aluminum.
Mr. Speaker, it is Mental Health Awareness Month. Everyone in this House can agree that the mental health of Canadians is a very important issue. Well, maybe not everyone. During the election, this government promised to invest $4.5 billion in funding mental health service through Canadians' mental health transfer, including $250 million in 21-22 and $625 million in 22-23. However, there is no mention of the funding timeline in the federal government's 2022 budget. Why did this government break their commitment to fund mental health?
L'honorable Secrétaire parlementaire.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our government has made historic investments in mental health, including $5 billion to the provinces and territories through ongoing bilateral agreements. We are also engaging with provinces and territories to inform the development of a new mental health transfer, building on the principles of the Canada Health Act, as well as sharing data on indicators and outcomes. We remain fully committed to the additional $4.5 billion over 5 years to ensure mental health care is treated as a full and equal part of Canada's universal public health care system.
Honourable member for Edmonton-Wetaskiwin.
Mr. Speaker, 66 times while they were trying to get elected, the Liberal Party used the words mental health in their platform. But we're losing 11 Canadians every day to suicide, and we still don't have a 3-digit suicide prevention hotline. We're losing 19 Canadians every day to a raging opioid crisis that continues to worsen. And now the Liberals have broken their cornerstone mental health commitment from an election campaign fought just months ago. Can the minister explain to Canadians struggling with their mental health why her party broke the commitment it so solemnly made to help them when it was looking for their votes?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
The government is working to implement this crisis line as quickly and as effectively as possible. While the CRTC is completing its process, PHAC is working concurrently to ensure there will be capacity for the new line to connect people to the most appropriate support in the most appropriate way. We are also working closely with U.S. Admiral Levine and Dr. Delphine Rittman and their team to learn from the ongoing American crisis line implementation process started back in 2018.
The honourable member for Edmonton-Wetaskiwin.
Mr. Speaker, that didn't even come close to answering the question we actually asked. Mr. Speaker, we've asked consistently very fair, straightforward questions on the issue of the Canada mental health transfer. Last week, the minister dismissed them as, quote, annoying and despicable. If the minister is annoyed with anyone, perhaps it should be with her own prime minister, who's put her in such an awkward, indefensible position by breaking a clear promise to the most vulnerable of Canadians. If anything is despicable, it's that. Why did this Liberal government break a clear commitment on one of the most critical issues facing Canadians today?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
I'd like to thank my colleague for his question. There's a process that we're following. It's a serious process. The CRTC is studying the recent consultations and ensuring that each call is directed effectively. This entails significant changes to our telecommunications systems all across the country. And we've also invested $3.7 million additional dollars for a total of $50 million to support distress centres all across Canada.
Member for Victoria.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals just approved a new $10 billion loan guarantee for TMX. Instead of supporting workers in the transition to the green economy, this government is continuing their failed approach, handing over billions to big oil. The Liberals never should have bought the pipeline. The government's own watchdog confirmed they should expect to lose money when they sell it. And now they're putting even more public dollars on the line for this financial boondoggle. How many more billions is this government willing to risk for a pipeline that is fueling the climate crisis?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our government understands how important it is for us as Canadians to get our resources to market and to get fair value for them. We do not intend to be the long-term owner of the Trans Mountain Pipeline. A divestment process will be initiated once the project is more advanced, de-risked, and essentially when consultations with Indigenous people are concluded.
The Honourable Member for Timmins, James Bay.
Carbon bomb. It's a term referring to any new fossil fuel project that would plunge the planet dangerously past the 1.5 degrees Celsius line into climate crisis. That's why the International Energy Agency says there simply can't be any more fossil fuel projects. So let's talk about the billions this government has put into the carbon bomb. They own the TMX pipeline. Spare us the talk about an emissions cap. This is about burning an extra 1 million barrels of oil a day. So given what's at risk, why did the Environment Minister decide to act as a sock puppet for the big oil lobby?
The Honourable Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would like to remind my honourable colleague that we have decided to go after pollution, Mr. Speaker, and that's exactly what we're doing with our plan. And in fact, as oil production has increased in 2019, pollution has gone down. And they should be happy about that, Mr. Speaker. They should be happy about that. Production went up, pollution went down, Mr. Speaker. What else do they want?
I'm really trying to figure out who was heckling who here. This is all kind of strange. The Honourable Member for London West.
Mr. Speaker, next week will mark Endangered Species Day and soon after International Day for Biological Diversity. It is it's time to reflect on nature and conservation, particularly in Canada urban spaces, which are home to 3/4 of Canadians. Urban parks have a role to play in supporting species to survive and offering residents benefits like cool spaces among heat islands in our urban environment. It is of great interest to many Canadians when the National Urban Parks Program was announced in last August. Can the Minister of Environment and Climate Change share with this House how this program has advanced since then?
Excellent. The Honourable Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the honourable member from London West for her question and her hard work. And I would like to thank the member for Windsor-Tecumseh for his ongoing support for this file. I'm happy to announce that Parks Canada and Transport Canada are signing a memorandum of understanding to pursue a transfer of the Ojibwe shorelands from the Windsor Port Authority to Parks Canada so that it can be included in the future National Urban Park. This is a significant step forward in establishing the park, Mr. Speaker. We will continue to work closely with partners to establish Windsor's first National Urban Park.
The Honourable Member for Sturgeon River Parkland.
Mr. Speaker, the Commissioner for the RCMP, Brenda Luckie, just gave shocking testimony at committee which contradicts a key claim from this Liberal government. For weeks, the Minister of Public Safety has claimed that law enforcement asked the government to invoke the Emergencies Act. In fact, on May 3rd, the Minister said he acted on the recommendations of law enforcement. But Commissioner Luckie testified that the RCMP never asked this government to invoke the Act. Will the Minister tell Canadians who in law enforcement asked the government to invoke the Emergencies Act, or will he admit he just made it up?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Speaker, let me take the opportunity to refresh my honourable colleague's memory with what Commissioner Lucky actually said at the committee. She said that the Emergencies Act allowed police to maintain a security perimeter and refuse entry of individuals traveling to the illegal protest with the intent of participating. She said it gave police the enforcement authority to arrest individuals who continue to supply fuel, food, and other materials. She said it gave police new powers, Mr. Speaker, to compel individuals to provide essential goods and or services for their removal. That's what the Commissioner said, Mr. Speaker, not the paraphrasing.
The honourable member for Sturgeon River Parkland.
Well, Mr. Speaker, in further shocking testimony, the RCMP Commissioner admitted at committee that border protests were cleared without using any powers under the Emergencies Act. Well, on May 3rd, the Minister said that they needed to invoke the Act to clear the border. Clearly, the Minister and the Commissioner can't both be right. So will the Minister tell Canadians, is the RCMP Commissioner misleading Canadians, or is he?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
I'll tell this chamber who's misleading Canadians. It's that honourable colleague over there who continues to paraphrase very recklessly and inaccurately the actual testimony of the Commissioner who said that she used the Emergencies Act to restore public safety, Mr. Speaker, and we will continue to be transparent with all members of this chamber and all Canadians about why it is that we invoked that act. It was to protect Canadians.
Now we're having vigorous debate. There's some vigorous debate here. Order. Order. All right. Let's hold on.
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg-Haute-Saint-Charles. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The testimony of the Commissioner of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police to the Parliamentary Committee flatly contradicts the Liberal government's position. For several weeks, the Minister of Public Safety and the Prime Minister have been saying that law enforcement had asked the government to invoke the Emergency Measures Act. Indeed, on the 3rd of May, the Minister said that he acted on the recommendation of law enforcement, but Commissioner Lucky testified that the RCMP never asked the government to invoke the Act in the first place. Can the Minister tell us who asked to invoke the Act, or will he admit that he made it all up? The Honourable Minister for Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, as I have already mentioned a few times, the testimony of the RCMP commissioners at the invocation of the Emergency Measures Act was there to help to restore public safety. It offered new powers and new authorities to police bodies in order to protect the health and safety and security of Canadians. That is the reason for which we invoked the Emergency Measures Act. The Honourable Member for Charlebourg-Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, will the Minister deny that the RCMP Commissioner, in her testimony, mentioned that the police did not need the Emergency Measures Act in order to clear the border? Perhaps it helped other things, but the most important thing is that the Commissioner confirmed that the RCMP did not need to use the EMA to clear the border. Is that right? Yes or no? The Honourable Minister for Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, the testimony from the RCMP Commissioner was that the Emergency Measures Act dissuaded illegal protests and illegal protesters from going back to that community because these were illegal protests. The events were very clear. It's the Conservatives, and only the Conservatives, who seem to not understand the severity of the situation for which we invoked the Emergency Measures Act, that we invoked for the protection of Canadians. The Honourable Member for Repentigny. Mr. Speaker, times are tough for the current Minister of the Environment. He is being sued by Équiterre, the very environmental group he founded himself. Équiterre accuses the Minister of betraying his climate obligations to the world by approving the Baie du Nord project. However, he must have known that he could not accept the extraction of 1 billion barrels of oil in the middle of a fragile marine ecosystem at depths that would prevent any rapid response to a leak. The Minister knows Équiterre well. It is his family. Is he really surprised at the end of the day that Équiterre is suing him? The Honourable Minister for the Environment and Climate Change. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would like to thank my colleague for her question. You know, Mr. Speaker, on our side, well, she says we are going too far when it comes to environmental impact assessments. On the other hand, we have environmental groups that think we are doing not enough. What we are doing is navigating a just middle in order to make environment protection move forward. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Repentigny. You know, Mr. Speaker, when the current Minister for the Environment and Climate Change was appointed, even we in the Bloc Québécois saw a sign of hope. We were happy. We were like, finally, an ecologist. That is how disappointed we are with his latest decision to authorise the Baie du Nord project. Never did we think that one day this man would be lauded by the House of Commons, by the Conservatives rather, and sued by Équiterre. What more will it take for the Minister to finally understand that his attempt to change the system from within in the Liberal government of an oil state is a failure? The Honourable Minister for the Environment and Climate Change. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a friend who recently said, when there is a fire, you need more firefighters, not fewer firefighters. And so we need more environmentalists in the House of Commons to make the environment portfolio move forward. I'm so happy to be here with my colleagues because for the past 5 months we've presented a plan that will allow Canada to meet its objectives when it comes to reducing greenhouse gases, irrespective of what happens with oil and gas production. Pollution will go down. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for South Surrey White Rock.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We saw reports Tuesday of an Afghan interpreter for the Canadian Army being thrown in a steel container and beaten within an inch of his life by the Taliban.
Oh my.
Responding about bringing 40,000 already outside the country is deliberately misleading. Between 600 to 1,000 of our allies that this government left behind have been executed by the Taliban. Minister, if Canada has our Afghan allies' backs, why are so many being hunted down and executed with no help from this Liberal government?
Yeah. The Honourable Minister of Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, the kind of circumstance the Honourable Member described is exactly why we have made one of the most substantial commitments of any nation in the world to resettle 40,000 Afghan refugees here in Canada. I'm pleased to share, Mr. Speaker, that as of this week, when we arrived in Ottawa, there were 12,600 Afghan refugees. Today, there are 12,900. By tomorrow, there will be 13,200. We are seeing a regular pace of arrivals because we have made a commitment and put a plan in place to welcome some of the world's most vulnerable people to Canada. We will not waver on our commitment until we make good on it to the people who helped us during our time of need.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Forest Lawn.
Well, testimony at the Afghan Committee has been filled with tragic personal stories and underscored the crisis Afghans are facing under Taliban rule. People are being tortured and killed while waiting to come to Canada. We even saw a 10-year-old girl killed while her application was stuck in this Liberal-made immigration backlog. Delays, red tape, and unreasonable requirements has made this process almost impossible for stranded Afghans. Will this government do the right thing and implement the Conservatives' ask for single-journey travel documents for Afghans?
The Honourable Minister of Immigration.
The Honourable Member's use of one party's name for his own political interest is beyond disgraceful. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, the Conservative Party of Canada campaigned on a commitment to bring precisely 0 Afghan refugees to Canada. When they were in power, Mr. Speaker, over the course of 4 years, they were able to bring 800 people to Canada. Their extended families were not allowed to come. That demanded that we create a special pathway to make space for 5,000 of them because they're the very people that the Conservatives left behind. I will not take lessons on the Afghan Resettlement Initiative on the basis of their history. They do not deserve that credit. We will continue to go forward to help some of the world's most vulnerable, with or without them.
Order. Order! The Honourable Member for Bruce Grey Owen Sound.
Mr. Speaker, during testimony of the Afghanistan Committee, both Global Affairs Canada and the Canadian Armed Forces have confirmed lessons learned reviews were conducted by their respective departments in regard to the evacuation of Afghans from Kabul. Further, testimony confirmed that there was an interdepartmental review led by PCO conducted. So will the chair of the Afghanistan Committee highlight why it's essential that the Liberal government release these crucial reviews immediately to the committee for inclusion in the committee's mandated report back to Parliament by June the 8th?
Good question.
The Honourable Chair of the Afghan Committee.
The Vice Chair.
The Honourable Vice Chair.
Mr. Speaker, as Vice Chair of the committee, I'll respond. Parliament is...
Just hold on a sec. You can only ask questions about the agenda of the committee, unfortunately. So is there... The Honourable Minister of Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, I've heard around pitching around a hitter in baseball, but never on the floor of the House of Commons.
Let's clarify this just a little bit. The Honourable Member for Bruce Grey Owen Sound, maybe re-ask the question. Hey again.
Mr. Speaker, during testimony of the Afghanistan Committee, both Global Affairs Canada and the Canadian Armed Forces have confirmed lessons learned reviews were conducted by their respective departments in regards to the evacuation of Afghans from Kabul. Further, testimony confirmed there was an interdepartmental review led by PCO, and it was conducted. So, in this case, in the interest of transparency, will the Liberal government release these completed, crucial reviews immediately to the Afghanistan Committee for inclusion in the committee's mandated report back to Parliament before June the 8th?
The Honourable Minister of Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the Honourable Member for his question and the many conversations we've shared seeking to only improve the government's efforts to welcome more Afghan refugees. I take his efforts as being sincere. I will point out that we continue to work with different departments to ensure that we can put a plan in place to succeed in this effort to bring 40,000 Afghan refugees to Canada. There are certain pieces of information, obviously, in the middle of the operation that could put at risk the security of some of the individuals who are seeking to come to Canada. To the extent that we can offer increased transparency, including through my own 2-hour appearance before the committee, we'll do whatever we can to ensure we enhance that transparency without compromise on the security interests of those involved.
The Honourable Member for Dorval-Lachine-la-Salle. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Minister responsible for the Economic Development Agency of Canada for the regions of Quebec recently announced numerous contributions to support Quebec businesses. We can mention, among other things, financial assistance of $1.2 million from the federal government for Chocolat La Montagne de Sherbrooke. Could the government inform us what kind of support this could bring to Quebec companies like this one that will receive financial assistance from the federal government? Thank you very much. The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to thank my colleague for her question, and I would also like to highlight her extraordinary work for the citizens of her riding. Unlike some of our colleagues in this House, we believe that the real issue of concern to Quebecers are having a strong economy and good jobs. This is the reason for which we are proud to help small and medium-sized businesses in all regions of Quebec, such as Chocolat La Montagne in Sherbrooke, to give entrepreneurs the means to achieve their ambitions. And this is just the beginning, Mr. Speaker. Stay tuned for the rest of our work.
The Honourable Member for Fort McMurray, Cove Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Jonathan applied for his daughter Victoria's passport at the Service Canada Centre in Fort McMurray in March. The passport still hasn't been processed, and he doesn't have the luxury to drive 5 hours each way to the passport office in Edmonton and camp out overnight to hopefully get a walk-in appointment. They want to travel to see Victoria's dying great-grandmother. This is hurting rural Canadians. When will the minister admit this is a crisis and help little Victoria get her passport?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the Honourable Member for her question. Mr. Speaker, our
public servants have been working night and day, overtime and weekends to catch up with the overwhelming demand of Canadians for their passports. We understand that there are unique circumstances for some individuals in travel, and our current priority is to ensure that Canadians with planned travel are able to do so. Those who have emergency needs can be met through special measures, through Service Canada offices, and through the additional phone lines that have been opened. Every single wicket across this country, 564, Mr. Speaker, have been open to serve Canadians. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Richmond Athabasca. Mr. Speaker, while in normal times it took 20 days to get a passport, we are now talking about over 40 days. People are unable to get through on the phone lines, and Service Canada even charges Canadians the cost of transferring their application to Quebec City, even though they are responsible themselves for the delays. The situation was predictable with the return of pleasure and business travel with the end of the pandemic. And on top of that, the 10-year passport deadline was coming up this year. Mr. Speaker, can the Liberal government finally show a modicum of leadership and solve this problem once and for all for Roger, Pierre and Isabelle, so that all Canadians can finally get their passport as rapidly as possible? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Honourable member for his question. Mr. Speaker, since December of last year, we hired 500 additional passport workers to process, 3 new processing centres, 303 Service Canada centres. In addition, those who follow the process and have submitted the correct required documents according to the guidelines have no additional fees to pay for expedited passports. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to serve Canadians.
Well done. The Honourable Member for Calgary Rocky Ridge.
Mr. Speaker, my constituency office is inundated with calls from constituents unable to access passport services, and I'm not alone. I'm sure that every Liberal member of this House, including the Minister herself, are experiencing exactly the same thing. The backlog caused by this government's lack of preparedness affects Canadians' ability to travel abroad, to work, for school, or to reunite with family members. Will the Minister tell us on what date will the backlog be cleared?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Families, Children and Social Development.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member for his question, but as I mentioned, 100% of the Service Canada passport wickets are open from coast to coast to coast, serving Canadians. In addition to the 500 additional employees, the additional 3 processing centres that we've opened, each Service Canada centre is available to reach Canadians when they need it most. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Newmarket Aurora.
Mr. Speaker, our Liberal government restored the age of eligibility on old age security back to 65 from 67. Our government knows that older the seniors get, the more financial difficulties that they have. Could the Minister of Seniors please update the House on the work that the government will do to enhance the financial security for older seniors in my riding of Newmarket Aurora and in Canada?
The Honourable Minister of Seniors.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague from Newmarket Aurora for that excellent question and for his advocacy for seniors, not just in his riding, but indeed from coast to coast to coast. Mr. Speaker, we know as seniors age, their health and home care costs rise, all while they're more likely to be unable to work, have disabilities, or to be widowed. Older seniors face increased care expenses and are at greater risk of running out of savings. That is why, Mr. Speaker, this summer we will be delivering on our promise to increase the old age security by 10% for seniors 75 and older, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, since 2015, seniors know that we've had their back and we will continue to deliver for them. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for South Okanagan, West Kootenay.
Mr. Speaker, today an open letter to the Prime Minister signed by nearly 300 top scientists and scientific organizations highlighted that Canada's best and brightest graduate and postgraduate students, postdoctoral students, are living in poverty due to the inadequate funding they receive. The scientists point out that the dollar value of federal scholarships have not changed since 2003. We need to increase the scholarship amounts and index them to inflation. How can we expect to keep these brilliant young scientists in Canada when we force them to work for less than minimum wage?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, Mr. Speaker, over the last 7 years, we've helped to rebuild Canada's world-class science and research sectors.
Our government has been steadfast in its support of all scientists and researchers. That's why in Budget 2022, Mr. Speaker, it proposed $38.3 million over 4 years for the federal granting councils to add new, internationally recruited Canada Excellence Research Chairs in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and math. Budget 2022 also provides $40.9 million to Canada's research granting agencies to support targeted scholarships and fellowships for promising Black student researchers. We will continue to support a robust science research ecosystem that reflects Canada's strengths and advances Canadians' interests.
The honourable member for Kitchener Centre.
Mr. Speaker, today in response to questions from the Bloc and the NDP on a new $10 billion loan guarantee for the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion, the Deputy Prime Minister cited a net zero by 2050 condition. Well, net zero by 2050 doesn't matter if we blow through our carbon a budget decades before. She calls it responsible while the PBO has said the project doesn't even make economic sense. She cites a cap on emissions when she plans on increasing production and exporting the emissions. When will the government invest as much in a prosperous transition for workers as they have in this economic and ecological failure?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our government absolutely understands the urgency of climate action. That is why we have invested more than $100 billion in climate action. That is why we have introduced a price on pollution, the most powerful market-based mechanism for changing the way we run our economy. When it comes to TMX, Mr. Speaker, I think all Canadians understand how important it is for our country to get the value for our natural resources. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, that's all the time for question period today. I'm sure we have a couple of points of order. We have a point of order from the Honourable Member for Parklands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise on a point of order arising out of question period. In response to my questions about what appears to be contradictory testimony from the RCMP Commissioner and the Minister of Public Safety, the Minister of Public Safety accused me of being reckless and misleading the House. I think, it gets hot in here. It gets hot in here, and I know I'm guilty of that, but I would ask that the Minister apologize for this unparliamentary language. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I want to thank the member for his intervention. I give the opportunity, but I would say that we all have to be careful in what we say. Our words are important in this House of Commons for all Canadians.
The honourable member for Lac Saint Jean. Mr. Speaker, I think you'll find unanimous consent for the following motion. Since there is substantial evidence and testimony that the government of the People's Republic of China is committing massive and systemic abuses against the Uyghur people and Turkic minorities in East, we have to consult amongst the parties. So we're still in points of orders.
Sherwood Park for Saskatchewan.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Misleading the House is a serious matter, and I'm aware that it requires demonstration that a member or a minister knew they were misleading the House. The Minister of Immigration today made some comments with respect to what allegedly the Conservatives' targets would have been for Afghan immigration. This was the subject of discussion at a March 3rd hearing of the Immigration Committee, in which the Minister acknowledged, Mr. Speaker, it is not a point of debate, it is a point of misleading the House. The Minister acknowledged at the March 3rd meeting of the Immigration Committee that he was aware that the platform... Mr. Speaker, no.
I'll let him continue. The honourable report.
Thank you. Well, I want to let the Minister of Immigration acknowledged at the March 3rd meeting of the Immigration Committee that he was aware that the Conservative platform commitment only applied to non-emergency situations and that he wasn't aware of targets. I think the Minister needs to clarify whether what he said on March the 3rd or today was accurate. Otherwise, it's a matter of misleading.
If we are asking for clarification, we are getting into debate here. We have a couple of point of order. Okay, the Honourable Minister of Immigration. It's fair for fair.
Mr. Speaker, in order to respond to the point of order, if you go to the Conservative Party platform from the last election, you will not find a commitment to resettle any particular number of Afghan refugees.
That's right. Exactly.
That's it. See, ultimately, I think that's fair. That if you get asked the question, you get the answer. It's the way it works. Do we have any other points of order? May I ask? No. Thankfully, good job. Oh, wait a minute. No. I spoke too soon. The honourable member for Calgary Centre.
No, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this misleading the House is a serious matter, and the member for Kitchener Centre continues to mislead this House on environmental matters. I have the report from the Parliamentary Budget Officer, and I do know that he has not indicated that the Trans Mountain Pipeline is not economically viable. If he has a different report, I would ask him to table it in the House, or else recant his comment in front of the House, please.
I know we're getting into lots of different debate here, but let's clarify. I mean, misleading the House, we say that a lot in this chamber, whether right or wrong, but we do say a lot. If you're accusing someone of deliberately misleading the House, that is saying someone is lying, and that cannot be said in this House of Commons. I believe the member for Kitchener Centre has a comment.
Just a point of order. I'll be glad to send the member for Kitchener Centre the PBL report that makes really clear that the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion only makes sense if the...
Well, again, we're getting into debate here again. See, allow one, and this is what happened. I should learn from these mistakes. I believe the honourable member for Saanich Gulf Islands also has a point of order.
To be clear, Mr. Speaker, I'm rising to support what I think I put my hand up in the point of order that the honourable member from Calgary was alleging something about the statement by the member of Kitchener Centre that cannot be said in this House. And I also read the report from the Parliamentary Budget Officer, but if I commented on the facts of the matter, it would be entering into debate.
No, I should know better. Thank the member for the intervention. For Timmins, James Bay.
I want to say, Speaker, I have enormous respect for you, and I'm not trying to enter into debate, and I stand by everything I said in the House.
It being 3:20, pursuant to an order made on Thursday, November 25, 2021, the House will now proceed to the taking of the deferred recorded division on the sub-amendment of Mr. Patser on the amendment to the motion at second reading stage of Bill C-11. Call in the members. Well, the question is the following one. Mr. Rodriguez, seconded by Ms. Kara, move that Bill C-11, an act to amend the Broadcasting Act and to make related and consequential amendments to other acts, be now read a second time and deferred to the Standing Committee on Canadian Heritage. May I dispense? Oh, well, there you go. The sub-amendment, Mr. Patser, seconded by Mr. Kitchen. Move the following sub-amendment that the may I dispense? Thank you. Did I hear a no there? All right. Well, Mr. Patser said I shouldn't dispense, so there you go. Mr. Patser, seconded by Mr. Kitchen, move the following sub-amendment, that the amendment be amended by adding the following, and the committee report back no later than 10 sitting days following the adoption of this motion. The 10-minute period for members voting electronically has started in the House. We'll now proceed to the vote for members participating in person. All those in favor of the sub-amendment will please rise.
Mr. Brassard. Mr. Bazin. Mr. Bazin. Mr. Chong. Mr. Chong. Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore. Mr. Berthold. Mr. Berthold. Mr. Fast. Mr. Fast. Mr. Albus. Mr. Albus. Miss Finley. Miss Finley. Mr. Nater. Mr. Nater. Mr. Barrett. Mr. Barrett. Mr. Jennis. Mr. Jennis. Mr. Schmale. Mr. Schmale. Mr. Macaulay Edmonton West. Mr. Macaulay Edmonton West. Mr. Lawrence. Mr. Lawrence. Mrs. Gray. Mrs. Gray. Mr. Calkins. Mr. Calkins. Ms. Lansman. Ms. Lansman. Mrs. Cousy. Mrs. Cousy. Mr. Perkins. Mr. Perkins. Mr. Lewis Essex. Mr. Lewis Essex. Mrs. Gallant. Mrs. Gallant. Mr. Viss. Mr. Viss. Mr. Caputo. Mr. Caputo. Mr. Small. Mr. Small. Mrs. Vecchio. Vecchio. Mr. Steinley.
Mr. Steinley.
Ms. Rood.
Ms. Rood.
Mr. Ellis.
Mr. Ellis.
Madame Bien.
Madame Bien.
Mrs. Krant-Nyman.
Mrs. Krant-Nyman.
Ms. Ferreri.
Ms. Ferreri.
Mr. Baldinelli.
Mr. Baldinelli.
Ms. Gladue.
Ms. Gladue.
Mr. McKenzie.
Mr. McKenzie.
Mr. Zimmer.
Mr. Zimmer.
Mrs. Block.